and the Sagamore Historic Adirondack Great Camp, welcoming listeners to their cross-country ski weekends this winter season in the heart of the Adirondacks. Checking some of today's top news stories, the Weather Service says snow squalls and snowbursts have been moving through the region this morning, accompanied by strong gusty winds, and that has reduced driving visibilities as well.
We heard a little bit more of a recording that we sampled earlier called A Rose of Such Virtue, but the such is spelled S-W-Y-C-H and the virtue V-I-R-T-U. The group is Musica Antiqua of Albuquerque, New Mexico. They call themselves Musica Antiqua de Albuquerque. That was, the day is D-E. We heard two pieces, Gideonis Aurea, an anonymous French work from the 13th century, and then Conquisinos Concomentes from Spain, 14th century. That's a new Dorian compact disc, A Rose of Such Virtue. We'll conclude today's program with our traditional story on the night before Christmas. Most beloved of all stories of Christmastide began on a cold winter's night in New York City in 1822. It was December, and the snow was falling softly around the runners of a big black sleigh that was moving through the streets of the city, the wind whipping around the hunched figures of two men as the sleighs along through the snow. The two men were Dr. Clement Moore and his old Dutch handyman, Peter. Moore was tired, very tired. He'd been all over mid-Manhattan since early afternoon, delivering Christmas presents to neighbors and friends. Daylight was just about gone now, and Dr. Moore was eager to get home. He was a little uneasy about his arrival home because, well, Mrs. Moore had planned a Christmas party for that evening, and Dr. Moore, he had rashly promised his three children that he would entertain them at the party with a poem for the holidays. Now Moore was sorry he had made that promise. It had been a frightfully busy day, and he just hadn't been able to get to it. Besides, Christmas poems weren't really in his line anyway. Dr. Moore was a scholar, professor of Oriental languages in the General Theological Seminary of New York. The scholarship was more to his taste. And as for the Christmas poems, well, maybe this one time he'd just have to disappoint the children. Moore looked out at Peter, sitting beside him there in the sleigh. Peter had just let out a great sneeze, and his broad face and round belly shook with the effort. Peter was using an immense handkerchief to blanket his nose, which had turned cherry red from the cold. His soft beard, white with snow, bobbed up and down as he said, "Not too long now, sir. Less than an hour. We'll be home." Then Peter gestured toward the sky and added, "It's a cold night, but a fine one." Moore looked up. Peter was right. A full moon was out, bathing the trees and the road in bright silver light. How could I put it? Moore thought to himself. Perhaps the moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. It's not bad. It's part of a poem, anyway. And with a kind of grumpy satisfaction, Moore filed it away in his memory as he watched Peter whistle and then shout to the horse, the sleigh flying swiftly over the winter snow. But Moore thought, it's swift, but it's not really fast enough. If only they could fly through the air, pulled by some strange creatures of winter. Reindeer. Reindeer would be wonderful. 8 strong reindeer. Then, thought Moore, Peter would spring to his sleigh, to his team give a whistle, and away they would fly, like the down of a thistle. Not bad. Well, actually, it was a pretty mad dream because, well, the sleigh wasn't really flying through the air. In fact, it was slowing down. What's wrong, Peter? Said Moore. Why are you stopping? Peter jumped off the sled and called back. Oh, it's nothing, sir. Only a moment. Part of the harness has come loose from the single tree. Moore watched the old servant working the strap back onto the swinging bar. And as Peter crouched there in the moonlight, the snow clinging to his beard, Moore had an inspiration. Why, it seemed that there was Santa Claus right before him, right there, in old Peter's face and figure. Moore could sense, right there, all the goodness and warmth of Christmas. And so, working with Peter as his principal character, Moore labored over his poem all the way home. When he reached his house, he rushed right into the study to put it down in pen and ink before it slipped from his memory. Oh, it wasn't much, really. Just a little bit of doggerel. But Moore was certain that the children would enjoy it that evening. And enjoy it they did. As he read his simple poem that night, the eyes of each child shone like the lights of the nearby Christmas tree. But what Clement Clarke Moore didn't know that night, so long ago, was that his simple poem was destined for children yet unborn, children who all would listen with wide-eyed rapture whenever those familiar opening lines were spoken. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, why, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney, with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced through their heads. And Mamma, in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutter, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name.
Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all.
As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying a finger aside of his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight,
Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Closing music today has been paraphrases on Stille Nacht and other carols by the Salon Orchestra of Cologne from a compact disc issued by EMI called Weihnachtssalon, EMI number 49819. Our thanks to our core crew on Morning Pro Musica: Leslie Warshaw, Laura Finkelstein, Naomi Arenberg, Cheryl McPherson, Jeff Nelson, Marcel Robinson, Alice Abraham, and of course Doug Briscoe. And thank you. And also our thanks to Talbots. This is the Public Radio Network.
Coming up on WAMC's Midday Magazine, President-elect Clinton's final cabinet announcements are due out later this afternoon. Also, a unique and controversial police effort to fight drugs in a Massachusetts community will have the story. We will update how retailers have been faring this holiday shopping season. Also, commentator Frank DeFord with some Christmas wishes, the downhill and cross-country ski reports, and of course, the midday weather summary. This is WAMC's Northeast Network, WAMC 90.3 Albany, WAMK 90.9 Kingston, WOSR 91.7 Middletown, WCAN 93.3 Canajoharie, WANC 103.9 Ticonderoga, in Troy at 93.1, and in Oneonta at 88.9. Time at the final tone, 12 o'clock.
17 hours, Greenwich Mean Time.